Welcome to another episode of the LuZoCast. I'm your host, Krishna, and I'm joined here with... Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Ravi.
I'm Arjuna.
They're lying. That's Arjuna, I think, and that's Ravi. So right off the bat, real quick, like we mentioned every week, this is spoiler heavy. So if you have not seen the newest episode of Game of Thrones, probably shouldn't bother watching this.
Season 6, Episode 8, titled No One.
Titled No One,
If you haven't
yes.
seen that.
And also we'll be talking about the new World of Warcraft movie that came out on Thursday?
Thursday night.
Yeah.
Thursday. It's been out in a few regions for a while, but yeah, I think it opened sometime this
Majorly,
week.
yeah. So if you haven't seen that, obviously, and you want to, then you probably shouldn't watch the second half of this show. But anyway, so let's jump right into it. So we watched episode 8 for Game of Thrones. Very interesting episode. I think that was a good, healthy mix of action and plot development. In my opinion, we saw the Hound just straight up take out 4 guys pretty brutally, and then gets to hang 2 more, steal one guy's boots. We saw a little bit of conflict with Arya and the Waif, even though it seems like the climactic moment there happened off screen. But overall, very, very interesting episode. I really enjoyed it, clearly setting up things for the last 2 episodes. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so definitely a lot of... It's kind of that typical Episode 8, Episode 7 type of deal, where it's just setting up, like you said, a lot. We also watched the preview for next week, and it looks like they're kind of doing what they've done in years past with Episode 9. Looks like it'll just be all about the conflict between Jon and company versus Ramsay.
What's that episode titled?
The War of the Bastards or something, or I have the
Battle of the Bastards.
Battle of the Bastards
Nice.
or something.
Nice, very nice.
Inappropriate title.
Snow versus Snow.
Very appropriate, I think.
Or both.
It's called Battle of the Bastards.
Yeah.
Clearly we didn't get any of their story because that's all going to be next week. But I think everybody else we're going to pick up on in episode 10. So
Sort of like an epilogue almost.
Right. I guess the most impactful thing that happened for me was Arya killing the Waif, going up to Jaquin or Jaquan or whatever his name is.
Jaquillin.
Jaquillin. And kind of just saying, like, I am, finally saying, as she's been saying this whole season, I'm no one. I'm Arya Stark of Winterfell, and I'm going home.
As Sarah's been saying, pretty much.
Yeah,
for the last 6 seasons.
I guess so. I think the popular theory between us 3, or in some way, shape, or form, was that that's kind of what he wanted all along, and it's not explicitly stated in typical Thrones fashion, but he kind of smiles and he lets her go pretty easily.
We didn't even mention that Sarah's not here.
Oh yeah,
Sarah.
So, usually there are 4 of us.
Sarah's right here.
Sarah's actually taking one for the team right now. And,
Yes, so it's actually just us 3.
Yeah, no, Sarah is currently busy.
She's too good for this.
She's too good for us.
She's too good for this podcast.
She'll be back next
Sunday.
week. Yeah, we did have some replacements, but due to
What's our viewership is going to going from the standard 9 down to 5,
0.5
Classic.
somehow. But yeah, absolutely. Ravi, what do you think?
What Arjuna was saying. Actually, let's back up real quick.
Sure.
What was the girl's name? The Waif?
That's what Sarah had been calling her.
That's
so
like her
kinda
title, yeah.
calling her that
she's
Didn't know
nameless,
that.
and I
The
think
expert
so
of our
she's
show
know
isn't
that.
here. So
Yeah, exactly. So
None of us are
there's going to be a lot of plodding along.
There's going to be a lot of Jaquillin. And,
Jaquillin,
girl from
and
Doctor
Wafer.
The wafer.
The Wafer lady was there. It was a good episode. Like Arjuna we had talked earlier. The episode title was No One, right? So we all kind of knew that it was going to be
that was the climax.
yeah, exactly.
You kind of knew that was
Arya Stark episode, which it's whatever. I think you had mentioned it before that, Arya's storyline. This episode, the last couple of episodes,
Yeah,
I think
not
the whole
that
season,
interesting.
I think the whole season's just kind of been for her
Not that interesting.
Boring.
Yeah, so it's like this necessary stuff we have to see to get her from point A to point B.
For sure. Kind of like Bran in like season 4, where everybody was just like, "This is terrible."
Yeah. There's always one in every.
Which usually
which is natural.
Well, which is when you compare it to television to the books, obviously in the books you have a lot more to work with in terms of developing your own thought process. On television, it's gonna be harder when you're doing a series where there is literally at any given season there are 12 different main characters, 12 sub storylines and so forth going through, so you have your challenges. The episode overall, it was alright. It was a good one. It's a filler, like we all know. Next week is going to be the episode where
stuff goes down,
everything goes crazy.
I do think I do think there was some important filler stuff. The Marine storyline is going in a direction of a mini war over there. Daenerys made her return. Some humorous moments between Tyrion and some of her advisors that
maybe the best part of the episode.
Seasons.
Definitely.
Just that awkward humor of like the joke with there are 2 translators on a boat.
You heard that. She's just so happy about it too. I have such a great joke for you. And then Warren being like, that is the worst joke I've ever heard.
This joke sucks.
And then he's like, no, I was joking.
And then just as they're joking, the slavers come and attack, and everything goes badly.
Yeah, Tyrion can't have a happy moment.
So no,
he's not a good ruler. He's
not a ruler. He's
more of
an advisor.
That's his role.
You know, he's been a good.
He's not supposed to be ruling.
Well, what's interesting is she comes to Marine. She freed all of these slaves. Everything's happy-go-lucky, and then over the course of 2 seasons now.
No, it's been bad.
She's pretty much the entire city, like that group of people. They're gonna be for the most part gone, and then she'll have now the entire Dothraki army. So her army from the very, very get-go was Dothraki.
It's going to end.
Then it was like this weird combo of the Unsullied and... What's
Second Sons?
And the Second Sons.
Oh, I forgot.
Then it was those 2 groups, and then the people there. And then now it's probably going to be a little bit of a tiny little bit of those 3 groups, and then mostly Dothraki again, and the dragons.
So that's going to be interesting to see kind of where that goes. Again, I'm assuming in episode 10, as we're going to skip over everything next week with just the bastards with Snow and Ramsay. We can get into that later, kind of predicting how we think that's going to go. Mm-hmm. So some other storylines. How about the Blackfish storyline with Jaime and then Brienne and Podrick kind of coming in there too, and kind of concluding that storyline a little bit. I wasn't the biggest fan of how they did it, and I think my biggest problem with this episode is a lot of key moments felt like they happened off screen. So Blackfish dies, and it's just and a soldier, an unnamed soldier, basically comes up to Jaime and's like, he's dead. So I was like, okay, you kind of been building up this conflict a little bit for the last few weeks, and it all happens off screen, and I can understand that maybe it's not the most compelling thing to show, but I don't know. I would have liked to have seen some type of confrontation, some type of conflict, and then also the going a little back to with Arya and the fight with the waif. That also happened off screen too. Like, I think it was cool that she did it in the dark, kind of building on the training that she got being blind, but again, why not show that too? Like, that would have been kind of cool. For an episode that lacked a lot of action, those are 2 good action pieces you could have had. And it works a little bit better with Arya because it builds up the anticipation, because then you go right next to the actual faceless house or whatever and you see the blood. We all assume Arya is the one that lives, obviously.
Right.
So it's not really that big. But
so speaking on the whole Arya sword fight and everything, one of the things I had read prior to this episode was that Syrio Forel, who plays the sword fighter master that trains Arya in season 1 back at King's Landing, as many fans have speculated, he's supposed to make some kind of grand return at some point, because we never actually see him die on camera.
Interesting.
And there was a theory flying out there for a while that he was part of the Faceless Assassins, that he was some kind of member, and that he would be the one that ultimately saves Arya from this wafer.
The wafer.
The wafer.
Well, so there was on one of our social platforms, somebody had brought that up. And I don't remember if we talked about it on the episode or if it was socially on one of our, like, our Facebook or our YouTube or whatnot. So there was the theory that, what's his face? Jaquan or Jaquillin.
Jaquillin.
Let's call him Jaquillin.
Let's call him, yeah. Jaquillin.
You know, that they might have been the same person because we never see Syrio actually die. I mean, it's assumed he's probably dead. Right. He had a broken wooden stick going against the guy that Arya brutally killed at the end of last season, resulting in her losing her eyes.
Right.
But we don't, so... But that, I don't see if that will ever come to fruition because I don't see how he'll come back into the story now that she's leaving and that's kind of concluded.
That was a little weird too because the actress was like, "Oh, so what are you gonna do?" And she's like, "What's west of Westeros? That's where I'm going." Like,
so I think she kind of maybe changed her mind between that, or maybe she didn't. I don't know. Maybe she's still acting like.
Like what happened to her list? Of people that she needed to end.
Who knows? Maybe. Well, but maybe the whole journey of these last 2 seasons has just kind of been she's lost herself obviously since her father died and being on her own for so many. Most of the show.
Yeah.
Maybe now she's come back to being like, I'm Arya Stark and I'm going to go and
do something meaningful.
Right, meaningful. Like, I'm not no one. I'm Arya Stark. And I'm kind of starting to realize that name has some type of meaning.
Right. And she can use it, and she's got some stuff to do with it. Okay, cool. So, let's see here. I got a little text from our mother. She commented on the... And it is important, obviously. Jaime and Brienne saw each other for the first time in quite a while.
2-3 seasons?
Yeah, and it was a little bit equal parts awkward, a little bit of reminiscing.
Sure.
Seems to be they still care about each other.
Yeah.
Obviously, that wave at the end, I think we laughed extremely hard at that because...
Well, it's funny because you, Christian, were like, look, they're going to give a little wave to each other.
And then they did.
And then Jaime holds up his stiff hand that doesn't move. And then there's a pause with Brienne and she's like... and it was just kind of a little soap opera-y and whatnot. And there's obviously a deep connection between the two characters. And it's even hinted at between other characters when Bronn and Podrick are reunited.
That was a cool moment.
That was also a cool moment because those two characters for many seasons were together with Tyrion, and it's been many seasons since early season 4 because early season 4 is I believe when Tyrion sent Podrick away with Brienne. So just them hinting at it and obviously for the 2+ seasons they traveled together, Brienne and Jaime, the fans trying to ship the characters together as they call them, call it. I don't think it's a romantic love because Jaime truly does love Cersei.
No, it's a respect.
But it's a huge respect. Like it's a brother and sister.
A deep respect.
Yeah. Like, cause it's clearly even in the conversation they have. In the tent where she's like, if you attack, we could be on opposite sides, and there's clearly a discomfort there that there's a possibility that they'll have to fight each other,
right?
Which never comes to fruition, but perhaps
not in this episode,
right? Perhaps that's foreshadowing for things to come.
Yeah, things go horribly
right,
wrong. Or maybe they can find the same side
because you assume
well they're going to
the direwolf. I mean the zombies.
Well, right. You assume even if Jon takes Winterfell, right? With Jaime's forces there, a little further south of Winterfell, they will eventually be ordered to take back Winterfell from these rebels.
Right.
Right? Because Jon is not aligned with...
Well, doesn't it depend, though? Oh, yeah, right.
Obviously, it depends on
the North is in league right now with the Lannisters.
Yeah, so technically they're under the King of Westeros, the West.
But that being said, I mean, everything that's going on down south at King's Landing with the High Sparrow... that's probably going to have issues throughout the kingdoms.
Yeah,
in regards to who's going where. I mean,
sure. So that's a good point to bring into the next part of the story. Cersei
and the
mountain and
that was awesome
there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
Yeah,
that was great. So the High Sparrow sends the cousin, Cersei's cousin, and a bunch of High Sparrow thugs. Right, to go in and basically say, hey, you've got to come over to the High Scepter, right?
Yeah, wherever he is.
Right. And she basically says, no, thank you.
Not
and
quite
then
politely.
What's the High Sparrow guards are, there will be violence, and she says, I have to choose violence. And then, of course,
I choose violence.
The mountain ghost picks up a guy, strangles him, throws him on the ground, and rips his head off.
Yes.
I'd like to point out his finger was twitching.
Well, of course it's going to twitch.
Yeah, the nerve endings are still firing off.
It was still last commands.
Yeah. But the bigger part with that whole storyline, obviously, is that her son outlawed trial by combat. So what now? And we actually kind of missed this part because her black mage friend, who by the way is extremely creepy, when the mountain was ripping up the guy's head, both he and Cersei were like looking, at the mountain. They were like licking their lips. Almost like. Yes, but
violence.
He mentioned something, and I think we missed it, like exactly what that part was. But we should probably look that up actually, because I think it's fairly important. But yeah, so what do you guys think about?
It's something about the birds, right? In terms of because now he has control of the quote unquote little birds of Varys.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Right, so he's like, my little birds have been telling me secrets, like, and she said something along the lines of like, have you found the right secrets? And she's like, oh, many secrets, like much more than we even thought. So my guess is that they maybe have something on the High Sparrow that shows he's not as this perfect religious figure that he makes himself out to be.
Yeah. Well, to speak to that, he doesn't claim to be perfect.
Right.
Remember, he said in his last life before he converted, he was a drunkard that partied and all of that.
And he said he's always repenting because he's a sinner.
Exactly.
Something along those lines.
Exactly. So, I don't know necessarily if it's going to be something like that. It could just be something like, hey, he's got a kid. Let's do the Lannister thing and threaten his kid. Right. Yeah. Could be something like that.
Yeah. So... Interesting. So if she's going, so if there's going to be trials, right, and there's no trial by combat, anyone have any kind of speculation for where that could potentially go?
War.
Oh, so war. So you're saying just outright like?
I don't think we're going to see a trial. Honestly, I think we're going to see because especially with only one episode left, not that they resolve like conflicts, but it's going to lead into the next part of her story. And I feel like there's only two things that could happen. The High Sparrow is going to get assassinated.
That's what my money's on.
Which is what my money is on with the, I have, the whatever. So she's going to be able to throw it back in his face. There's going to be some type of bloody conflict.
It's going to be the mountain.
That kills
Cersei?
No, the mountain that's going to kill the High Sparrow.
Right. Yeah. It has to be.
It has to be.
Totally has
There's
to be.
nothing else that could... And he'll die. It'll be like him battling... all of them.
It'd be like in season 4 when he battled the Viper and his head exploded.
I would actually put my money on the Tyrell Queen person.
Marjorie?
Dying or killing the High Sparrow?
Killing the High Sparrow somehow. I don't know how, but I would put my money on
Well, it's her grandson that's also going up for trial too. So, yeah.
Right. Wait, you're talking about the old lady.
Oh, I was talking about, no.
Yes,
he's talking about his sister.
The Queen.
Oh.
Yeah, also, who's married to Tommen. Tommy boy.
Tommy boy.
That would be where my
Tommy
money is at. Yeah.
Do we think we'll see him die by the end of the season? Tommen. As the prophecy had said, Cersei will see his...
By the end of the season? Probably... I don't know.
We only have 13 episodes left after the season.
Well,
but a lot has to happen. So
possibly, because Jamie just took River Run, right? So Rivendell. He just took the elves Rivendell. So he can actually head back to King's Landing, right? And if you're correct, the prophecy says something along the lines of her true love ending her children, something along that nonsense.
Nice. Interesting. I actually don't really remember that prophecy. Okay, switching gears a little bit. Let's just touch on the Hound real quick. So he gets his revenge. He
pretty easily, I will say.
Yeah, I mean it was the Hound, and it seems to be. So it makes it seem because we had questions about that last week. We were like, wait, so the Brotherhood, and I think Sarah called that. She said this probably isn't the Brotherhood that we. Know about. It was
renegades or breakaways, whatever.
Yeah. And so she was absolutely right. She nailed that. It seems to be it was 7 of them, and he killed 4 pretty quick, and then had this 3. And now there's an offer at the end there where they pretty much have said why don't you join us? You can atone for some of your mistakes.
Yeah.
It wasn't quite. It makes it. I feel like the tone at the end of that scene makes it seem like he's gonna consider it and probably join up with them. What do you guys think?
I assume so. This seems like because. This seems like it's something that's pretty original to the show, and probably not influenced by. Well, it's indicated, or I guess it's referenced in the books that the Hound is still alive, but there's no concrete evidence yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the way they kind of wrote it is it's just all very conveniently coming together for like this is. Oh, the Hound was here, and then his people were killed by these people, and that led him to these people that he's going to travel with now.
Do you think... do you think what they're doing now in the show, now you said that, there's 13 episodes left?
13, there's 15 total. Wow. Right.
Do you think in the show they're basically all of these characters, all of these areas...
They're all going north.
It's basically going to be everybody versus the zombies, right?
I don't know if it'll be everybody, but I think you're going to see... I mean, it could be. I mean, you have a lot of people right there by the north right now. You think about it. You have Jon, Sansa, you have Bran, you have Arya potentially now heading back to Winterfell.
Depending on what she decides.
And then Rickon in Winterfell. So you have all the Stark children in the north, right? Then you have Then you have Jaime in the north right now.
Well, he's gonna head back south.
Not that we know of. He might stay in Riverrun, and then, like I said, he might head further north to back up the Boltons or try and take back Winterfell after it's been taken.
I think he would end up going back home because that's what he was going on about with what was the guy's name the prisoner they had?
Oh my god, yeah. Catelyn's brother.
Edmund Tully.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Catelyn's brother.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Actually,
gave up the whole castle.
That's another point to kind of touch on. They had this interesting conversation, and Jaime was able to convince him to surrender all his men without bloodshed, which is kind of what he sort of promised to Brienne, early in the episode, and was actually able to successfully do that. Besides, it seems the Blackfish who had a death wish.
Jaime was the real victor in all of it because they got the castle. Yes,
yeah.
There was no bloodshed. Yes,
didn't take 2 years.
Didn't take 2 years, right? Originally. And also, those men aren't going north.
No, he captured all.
He captured them, so that's less to help back up the whole war up in the north.
For sure.
So,
I don't know. You don't think because what's her face did ask him though. Brienne did ask him though if he takes it to allow the men to go north. Do you think maybe he's going to be like, Brienne's probably going there. Maybe like Brienne. Brienne, didn't she say that?
She said
let them go north to help Sansa.
Right, but also Jaime said you would have me betray my own house, which is what that would be. Would be. He's not gonna do that.
I think but he's not gonna kill them either.
Right.
They'll just be prisoners.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what goes on there. I think some interesting twists.
If he let them go, he would be branded a traitor.
I mean, his house is falling apart around him anyway. Like, I'm sure he's gonna head south anyway because as soon as he gets word of what's happening to his sister, of course he's going right back. That's true. He's going right back there.
Well, he knew that was happening to his sister.
He knew about the trial. I have a feeling he won't be back in.
Well, remember
Westeros by the end of the season.
Probably not. But remember though, he left thinking she convinced him to go because she was like trial by combat and I have the mountain. So
true.
Depending on how fast information travels in this new world of instant transmission,
Game of Thrones, yeah.
Like they're using Goku's instant transmission to get around.
Do you think they have figured out how to fax and that's why everything's happening a lot quicker?
Quickly? Yeah. Oh.
It's just like one of those things, like when someone says send a raven, it's actually a fax.
Yeah.
And they just fail to mention that.
They got the very last episode of the entire show is going to be somebody just, typing away on like a little typewriter to send a fax.
What if that's the biggest twist on all of it, right?
Present day.
The very last episode of Game of Thrones is this massive war and all of your favorite characters are dying and the zombies are winning, right? And then the camera zooms out. Right? And it zooms out, and it's a book. And then you see George R. R. Martin just writing. That's the ending.
It's like Winnie the
I think
Pooh.
we'd be pretty mad.
That's what it
That's
is. Winnie.
And then he like takes it, throws it off the table, and he starts writing another one.
Actually, so talking about information, let's just go real quick back to Tyrion. His best buddy, Varys, at the beginning of the episode.
Where did that come? Was that like
left.
hinted at like before, or did I miss it?
No, it kind of
Just kind of
sudden.
sudden.
Correct me if I'm wrong. What he said was, we need
Ships.
We need ships, and then we also need information from Westeros. Like we need somebody to be there to figure out what's going on.
But it's dangerous. It's a dangerous mission.
Yeah, and so he said it's a secret mission, and he also made it seem like he's going to return if he's successful, and if he doesn't, if he
He's
dies,
probably dead.
He's a dead man. That's just I thought that was an interesting development because Tyrion clearly has come to rely on him pretty heavily in all things, personal and otherwise.
He's become really. I mean, Tyrion started off. He had quite a few allies really in Westeros. I mean, despite being hated, he had him. He had Bronn.
Littlefinger.
He had Podrick.
I don't know if Littlefinger's a...
Well, Littlefinger's only appeared once in this. It's like once or twice in this season. How crazy is that?
Great point.
He's just been kind of missing. So there's something going on there, of course.
Well,
He's pulling
actually,
some things.
speaking of all of that, there was There was remember episode 7? What's her name? Sorry, Sansa Stark.
Yeah.
She's writing a letter to a raven. Somebody took that because they showed it.
Sansa's letter.
Yeah, about what it says.
Like they were able to increase the... They actually read it.
Yeah,
Sansa's letter. Oh look, that's the first thing.
yeah.
The letter has been decoded.
Yep.
It's been decoded.
Somebody went and decoded it, and oh really? No, I don't want advertisements.
Let me see.
Here it is. After some flipping, zooming, and enhancing, we can now read some parts of the letter. The legible parts read, "To protect me, now you have a chance to fulfill your promise. Knights of the Vale are under your command. Ride north for Winterfell."
Lend us your aid, and I shall see to it that you are well rewarded.
So it's Littlefinger. And remember, he does have control now of the Vale. And
Well, you assume it's Littlefinger. What if it's her cousin?
Which cousin?
Who's the guy who is really in charge?
The Lord of the Vale.
king
Either
of the
way,
Vale.
I
Lord of the Vale.
doubt it's him because there was that whole thing where Littlefinger says all I ever wanted to do was to protect you.
Yeah, but how...
And she's bringing that up now.
I
Now's
don't
your
think
chance to
she
fulfill your
trusts him
promise.
that much, though. Do you? Like he is.
It's not really it's not like it's a win-lose for her. It's a win-win.
Yeah.
He comes.
Yeah,
doesn't
you're
come.
right. It's to fulfill your promise.
Yeah.
He did make her. A
So
promise. That makes
in
sense.
Game of Thrones fashion and in basically any kind of major battle fashion,
An army will arrive late to save the day.
exactly. And I think that's what's going to end up happening. Is the Vale will come in and Boltons are out, or we could all be completely wrong, and I would be very very happy if the Boltons actually won because, that doesn't usually happen in television.
So wait, they're gonna kill Jon again? That's what you're saying?
Why not? They can bring him back as many times as they want now.
Well, he actually says in the preview, "Don't bring me back."
Yeah, but let's be honest. They're not gonna listen to him. He's their pawn now. He's a dead man.
Oh, fun
He's got
fact!
no
So
rights.
the director who directed, the director of the next episode, Battle of the Bastards, is the same director who directed the Hardhorn
What's the hard
episode.
one?
That's the one with the epic fight scene with Jon in the north, where the
Wildlings.
Wildlings attack.
where the wildlings get killed and massacred by what's their face, the ice people. Why am I forgetting their name?
Oh, really? That battle?
that
yeah.
one. That was a great battle.
that's
The,
a great battle.
the White Walkers.
Yeah, the White Walkers, right?
That's probably my favorite shot in.
Oh, the one where he goes like
When
this.
he just they were
Just
sailing
brings
away,
them all
barely
back.
escaping, and then the guy comes out and just raises it.
and then
that was
everyone stands up. That was pretty
chills.
sick.
I mean,
That
they
just gave me
killed
chills.
tens of thousands of people, and they got away with
Added
like
them
2
to
ships.
that. And then added
Like
those
80
dead
people.
people to the
Yeah,
army
and it's just
of the
like,
dead.
wow, you cannot beat these people
Yeah,
at all.
unless you have a dragon.
So,
Oh, you think Dragon Breath would take them out pretty good.
so
But yeah, okay, cool.
well, hold on. I think before we move on, let's. Speaking of next week's episode, what are kind of our predictions of what's going to happen?
I just said my
Well, you said you hope the Boltons win, but what do you think's gonna happen?
Oh, they're gonna go attack, and then the Vale's gonna come and save the day.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty tidy. I'll try and go in a slightly different direction. I don't know if I think this is going to happen. I'm going to say that they attack, they fight, and I'm going to say Jon dies, and they do bring him back.
Again?
Yes, against his
Really?
I wonder. I think it's convenient. The reason I say that too is it's convenient that they brought the Brotherhood in that character that we haven't seen since season 2, and he's a guy who keeps dying, and then he has his priest friend keep bringing him back over and over and over again. I wonder if that's perhaps to sort of draw a parallel to what Jon Snow, relationship might be with Melisandre, and like him keeps dying, maybe coming back, even against his will, because he's got stuff to do. Like, they need him.
Well, I guess to further not give credence to your... Well, maybe, but I thought it was interesting that in the... I don't know if you guys caught this, but there's a scene where Davros is standing by what looks like a pier, like a burning pier. So I'm wondering if in this episode he's going to find out that Melisandre had Shireen burned.
Ooh. Wait, who is this?
Sir Davros.
Oh.
So remember, he doesn't know. He still doesn't know
daughter.
Shireen. He doesn't know that Shireen was burned. That drove Stannis kind of madness, and a lot of the men abandoned the cause after that, and then they lost and were all killed.
Right.
So he still doesn't really know. He just knows that they lost. And only Melisandre knows and hasn't corrected him.
He's so insignificant though.
Davos?
Clearly he's not though. He's clearly an important character.
The Lord of Light.
I'm pretty sure in the book he's the point of view character of that storyline, not Stannis. So he's clearly a significant character of some type. So I wonder if he's going to find out and then kill Melisandre.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah.
That would be...
which then would give the credence of, well, if Jon dies, he can't come back.
So what do you think? What do you think's happening next week?
I think the battle's going to be intense, and that there's going to be some type of loss. I think on the quote unquote good guys
Major
side.
loss,
So you're just trying to rack your brain about like who's going to live and who's going to die, right? So my guess is probably going to be Mormont, the wildling leader.
Oh man!
I think
Tormund.
Tormund. Yeah, that's right, not Mormont. Tormund, I believe. I think he's probably going to bite the dust.
No!
Probably trying to save Jon in some type of way.
That sucks.
My gut tells me Ramsay's going to get away.
Oh,
like, they're not going to... He's going to somehow... get away. And all that. And... Yeah. That's kind of it. So, I guess to close the book on this episode, middle of the pack, okay. We'd had a string of some really good episodes. Then this one was just kind of like getting us ready for the next 2 weeks.
Sure. Okay, cool. All right, so that is Game of Thrones. Moving on now to the World of Warcraft movie, which we saw yesterday. Again, Saturday. If you haven't seen it, spoilers galore. Obviously, we're not going to hold back. I will say right off the bat, the three of us went in with extremely low expectations.
0 expectations.
Video game movies, I can't think of a single one that was that good. They do well, I think, financially, some of them. Like Tomb Raider did really well, and a couple other ones. And we went in with 0 expectations. We looked at the trailer like, this is gonna be horrible. Why we even bought tickets to it, I'm not actually sure. But we did. We went, and I'm glad we did because we were all very pleasantly surprised by it. I think we went in, had a great time, extremely enjoyable movie. I don't know. Rabbi said it. I think right after the movie, he said it was like the surprise of the summer. Maybe it was Arjuna. Maybe it was me. Somebody said it. But that might be apt. For at least for us, not critically, obviously, but for us, it might be the surprise of the summer. So thoroughly enjoyed it.
Surprise of the century.
So far?
Century? What?
No, I'm kidding.
So intense.
No, you're completely right. I mean, that movie was. The story was very easy to follow.
Yeah. Critics, you gotta get your head out of your butt.
We'll get into that.
Anyway,
we'll get into
the story was interesting. The movie, obviously major spoilers, the ending was not what you would expect.
Mm-mm.
It was not happy-go-lucky. It was brutal for the most part.
It was excellent.
It was like very surprising. It wasn't done in such a way where it's like it wasn't done like Walking Dead, where they just kill somebody for shock value.
Yeah.
It was actually thought out and done well.
Mm-hmm.
Visually, it was very, very cool.
Yeah.
I truly enjoyed it. I mean, when Sarah's back, we're gonna go see it again because, and I'm totally okay with that. I don't usually like seeing movies in a theater twice, but this one I'm like,
that says a lot.
I wouldn't mind seeing it again. It was fun.
Right.
It's weird that I liked it.
No, I'm
going to admit that.
I liked it.
Oh man, Arjuna, what'd you think?
Yeah, so like you guys, I was definitely surprised. Now, I'm not going to go say it was a great film. I wouldn't even say if it was like it was an entertaining film. I was certainly entertained. Throughout the whole movie, I was, it was a 2-hour movie. It didn't feel like 2 hours. It flowed well.
Felt like 7.
It's straightforward. Like if you've seen the trailer, that's what you're getting. You're getting a video game movie of action and fantasy and adventure. It's a Lord of the Rings light per se.
Yeah.
In terms of
For sure.
all that type of stuff, and the movie certainly has flaws, and I'm going to get into that. But like you guys have said, definitely it's probably the biggest surprise I've had since I saw Deadpool. Like I went into Deadpool with pretty low expectations, and like I don't know how they can really adapt this character that well onto screen, and they did.
Ryan Reynolds.
A good job. Definitely a good job with that. And
quick question. So as you know, this is a video game movie, right?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, video game movies, you leave it going, wow, that was a waste of my time, right?
And money.
Are your hopes for Assassin's Creed?
That trailer, man, I hear the music and I
hear the Kanye song?
I hear the Kanye song and I can't help but obviously I could be setting myself up for a huge amount of failure, but Michael Fassbender, I mean, he's a good he's a great actor, so I do have high expectations for that. I'm not going to say World of Warcraft is the reason I have high expectations for it, because I had high expectations for that movie before seeing World of Warcraft. But World of Warcraft, is encouraging. It's like, maybe studios are figuring it out.
Sure.
Real quick.
Okay, sure.
The other thing, though, to that point about we did set our expectations ridiculously low.
That's true.
That's true.
Yeah, so maybe we should do that for Assassin's Creed.
It's hard.
My background's a little different for Assassin's Creed for you, because in my opinion, the Assassin's Creed game franchise has been horrible for many. You don't agree with me?
Of course I agree with you. Everybody agrees with you.
The games have become so
bad. The publisher agrees with you.
That's why they didn't publish one this year, right? They're taking a year break or whatnot. Thank God. But it's become.
Had to do it.
It's become it's become a franchise that's just, it's so formulaic, and it's like, here's the same garbage. Essentially, in a different. It's become the Madden.
Go collect some papers.
It's become the Madden of the video games. Like it's just like
terrible.
We have the engine. We'll give you some story we Wikipedia'd yesterday. put it together.
We Wikipedia'd some conflict.
We'll add some arbitrary skill that you're forced to use in one mission and you'll never use again.
Nice.
And here's your sequel. And so I don't have any expectations for the movie, because the games peaked at like Assassin's Creed 2.
Interesting. So for you, it sounds like what you're saying is that, and this is an interesting point.
Sure.
You can't, and this is a valid point. Sure. You can't separate the movie from the game. So you're going,
even though they're not connected. Sure.
Right.
I think it's
interesting that the game, and you're invested in these games. I've seen you play each one of these games all the way through. Like
collect
100%,
all the shanties.
Yeah. So for someone like you to say that you're so invested in that game, and that the game recently has disappointed you so much that is spilling over into the movie is interesting, and I wonder what the parallel there is with Warcraft and Warcraft fans.
Sure.
I feel like it's a positive thing,
and that's what's interesting for us, right? None of us are Warcraft fans.
Yeah, we've never played it.
We've never played it,
guys. I want to admit something.
No,
I'm a huge Warcraft fan.
So this is now an intervention.
I have a level 210 character warlock.
Don't think they go that high.
I'm a huge fan.
So
I know everything.
So one of my good friends and former roommate Kendrick was a huge Warcraft fan.
Nice.
He lost many years of his life to Warcraft.
Yeah, people have.
And especially in high school, and then he stopped in college, and he brought it back up in college.
Call him. Has he seen the movie?
No, he's seeing it. He's seeing it tomorrow. So
he's seeing it tomorrow.
He's seeing it tomorrow. We're probably
gonna
gonna
do that for next week. For next week, I want to either call him, or I want to know what his reaction is.
We should totally
have him comment on this video.
Sure,
there you go.
We could totally do that. Because I'm
somebody that's invested.
I'm really intrigued to get somebody like his perspective on the movie. I know the movie it doesn't follow the game lore to a T. They've taken even during some research, before the show, right? So one of our favorite characters, I think, universally in the movie was Durathan, one of the orc leaders.
Yes.
So
Doctor Doom.
Yeah, Doctor Doom.
Doctor Doom. We'll go with that. Yeah.
Well, no, the actor that plays him was Doctor Doom in Fantastic Four.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, didn't know that.
So by the way,
that's a great job voice acting, man.
I watched Fantastic Four the other day. I had it on in the background.
The new one?
Yeah. He was the only interesting part to me up until he came back to the Earth and killed him.
Yeah, up until the part where he becomes Doctor Doom.
Yes, then it's just boring.
It's bad. Yeah. But Durathan's story in the movie is very different than it is in the lore.
Okay,
in terms of what happens, and
good to know.
And kind of going into the spoilery parts of the movie. So one of the coolest parts about this movie was Durathan is the co-lead with the human guy Lothar, and he died. And Durathan just straight up dies in the movie.
Yeah, that shocked me.
I was like. What?
I was like, they just killed my favorite character. Yeah. What the hell? And so, no lie, and I told Arjuna this. I was mad until I was mad until the king gets stabbed in the neck by his ally, the Green
Howard Stark lady. Until Howard Stark got stabbed.
Yeah, until Iron Man's father got stabbed.
Wow, but Howard Starks aren't doing well.
And when that happened, though, I realized, they're gonna kill everyone in really interesting ways that you don't see coming.
Yeah.
I didn't see any of the deaths at the end coming. They did them very interestingly. Maybe the most straightforward one was Medivh. Him turning bad. Right. I'm like, okay, yeah. So he's
that was kind of
I
thought that was solid. It was sort of forecasted that there's something up with him.
Yeah. Ben Foster. Great. Yeah. I'm big for Ben Foster.
Yeah. So the thing that Ben Foster probably the best from. He was the original Angel in X-Men: The Last Stand.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Going old school now.
So, and he had 3
That's old school.
He had 3. Well, that is, 9 years old now, so.
Really?
Yeah, less than.
Also want to point out that 2007 is the worst year of superhero movies.
Is it?
Ghost Rider. X-Men 3, The Last Stand. Spider-Man 3. And Fantastic Four 2, Rise of the Silver Surfer.
Wow.
Hollywood came out with 4 superhero pieces of garbage.
How that didn't end the entire genre.
How that they all made money.
They all
That's
made
the
money.
problem.
There you go.
So human beings love their comic.
But anyway,
movies.
so kind of what we talked about, the movie didn't. So I would say the first 2/3 of the movie go exactly probably how you assume they would go. Right, with the fantasy type of just you're introduced to all these characters and these storylines in different ways. There's this conflict. They fight. There's some skirmishes. There's a couple betrayals.
Oh, I'm sorry. So you're saying it's pretty straightforward?
Yeah, I'd say the first 2/3 of the act, it's pretty typical.
Yes.
You could have guessed, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So for the first 2/3, we were like, all right, this is all right.
Yeah, visually, I agree. So
right.
The first 2/3, you know what's coming.
Sure.
What kept me engaged was that the acting, surprisingly to me, was not bad. It was actually pretty good. It was engaging, and the visuals were stunning. I think there's one scene that sticks out in my mind. It's when they do you can help me out with this, a far away panning shot of the battle, and to me that shot did such a great job of the scope, showing the scope of that battle between the orcs and the humans
when they're surrounded.
Yeah. No. Even before that, when they're charging at each other. It's just this big thing. And then when they clashed and
IMAX helps with that stuff.
That's true.
We saw it in IMAX 3D. We should mention
that. Yeah, definitely watch it in that. So. I think I have a couple questions.
Yes, do it up.
So in the very beginning of the film, we get like a little prologue thing where it's the dying world where the orcs are from.
Yeah,
right. That
interesting.
Desert. There's a human on that world.
Mm-hmm. So is that's a little, yeah. I thought about that too, and so what I pick up from that is, the statement is like, orcs and humans have always been fighting, and I don't think that's specifically supposed to be their home world, planet, or whatever.
The humans are the orcs.
I don't think that desert area is supposed to be their home.
What if that is the world of Warcraft? And this is the world.
No. Let me finish my thought. So my thinking is, it's like they've always been at conflict. Here's where it started, and then we start our story, and this is how their conflict started. And so like the movie.
Oh, so it's like we saw the future.
Yeah, like this is any old human. This is any old orc, and they're fighting. So what's the reason behind their fighting, right? Well, here's how it started.
Yeah.
And now when we come into the story of the orcs and being teleported and whatnot, and the movie did a good job, and I guess we should bring this up now. So this movie critically bombed, right? Critics hated this movie. They said,
"Well, I hate the critics."
Rotten Tomatoes had some really harsh words for Warcraft. A lot of reviews that I read personally said the movie was confusing, and that you needed an encyclopedia to kind of understand it.
No, you did not.
I don't think I mean, maybe because our fantasy knowledge is above average in terms of we're big Lord of the Rings fans and we all consume.
I wouldn't even say that we're big Lord of the Rings fans.
No. Right. So
I would say we're pretty average.
And I think also, so Ravi has it pulled up right now. So
Warcraft has visual thrills to spare, but they and director Duncan Jones' distinctive gifts are wasted on a sluggish and derivative adaptation of a best-selling game with little evident cinematic value.
I mean, I think you just have to watch the movie and it has cinematic value, like we were just talking about.
Yeah,
it's visually impressive. I don't think you can really argue that too much, but. So I think what's interesting, especially on Rotten Tomatoes, right? You have your critic score, and it's a 27%, but the user score is 83%.
That's
very telling. It's a big
this critic right here. This is just annoying. Fans of the game will be pleased, but it's game over for everyone else.
What?
False. No, and that's clearly false. We are not fans of the games.
No.
We've never played the games. We've probably never played the games, and we're huge fans of those movies.
Right.
Or that movie, I should say.
Right.
That's just
interesting though.
What's funny though is a lot of these like critic reviews, they all do say visually it's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So visually nailed it, did a good job.
Yeah.
But this one, while it is visually very impressive, it doesn't soar as emotionally as Jones intended, which is necessary to be truly epic.
Oh, so this is actually that's kind of mean.
Yeah.
So this one, I love that.
That's kind of mean.
So this one is funny, right? So this one is from a critic named Rohan Nahar from the Hindustan Times.
Okay, nice.
And it's a positive one. It says, Warcraft is a film made with love. It is unafraid to be nerdy. It laughs in the face of mockery. It is, for better or for worse, the best video game adaptation that I've ever seen.
Yes. I will agree with that.
I can also agree with that. I don't think I've seen a video game movie where I mean, it's not a high bar. Let's start there.
No.
There is. It's literally no bar because they're all really bad.
Sure. So I'm looking into like a vampire movie. There's no good vampire movies.
People argue Blade.
Well, okay. Good vampire romance movies.
Wait, there's
you go in there.
There's a Swedish one. Let the right ones in.
So I have to take it back. Apparently there are.
What about the vampire movie Us Three saw with Ethan Hawke and the guy from Jurassic Park?
That was okay.
That was terrible.
It wasn't terrible.
That was terrible.
Okay.
It was mostly terrible because one of the speakers was broken and the music was coming out
that's
in
true.
a really weird way.
Yeah, that's true.
That's certainly.
So the ultimate test. One of my friends asked, is it better than Batman vs Superman?
Yes.
Yeah.
I get it.
There you go.
For me, yes.
Well, and this is something that
that's amazing.
So we talked to Sarah. We talked to Sarah. She's not here, like we've said before, and she said one of the biggest reasons we probably liked it, and we kind of alluded to this at the beginning of our conversation, was expectations. So we went in with zero expectations, and
BVS,
Batman vs Superman and like any superhero movie, like Civil War, we have expectations because we've consumed many media within itself. Like Civil War is the 11th Marvel movie, and whatnot. So you have those expectations.
Sure.
So this says it all right here. I mean,
Oh wow. Okay. Right.
Warcraft and Batman vs Superman both got the same critic score, 27. The audience score though, 66 for Batman vs Superman, and 83 for Warcraft.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think that's a significant.
Also, the other thing with this film, is it's killing it in China and in the foreign box office.
$145 million just in China alone in 4 days.
Yeah. That's impressive.
That's most by a U.S. movie internationally.
And by that, because of that,
4 day span.
There will most likely be a sequel, which is awesome.
And we'll probably go see it. No lie, we'll straight
Duncan Jones, you have another chance to make another kick-ass Warcraft movie.
So all for it.
Well, and so actually, Christian and I were talking in the car, and so one of my biggest problems with the movie, or biggest points of contention with the movie, is that there are a lot of storylines and a lot of point of view characters going on, and that problem sort of fixed by the end as you killed more than half, pretty much, of those characters, and kind of condensed some of the storylines. So I think the sequel could certainly be a lot better because you now have your especially for us, and I would say for a lot of people, you have a firm background now of what this world is. I think they did a good job introducing it, alluding to a lot of things. You understand there are 7 kingdoms and these different races and what the conflict is. So I think the next movie, and this is what generally works for a sequel in a big franchise, you can just go and tell the story. You don't have to worry about I need to introduce this and I need to introduce this and that. The key players are introduced in there. And everything. So I think I'm happy about that.
The problem is, though, they only touched on 2 of the races.
Sure.
So therefore, the sequels are going to be just as... Because they didn't touch on any of the other... And Warcraft, and so I disagreed a little bit with Arjuna in the car. Because I said, I personally didn't have a problem with all those characters. They were straightforward. Their motivations were easy. They were memorable in my mind, so I didn't have to be wait, who's that again? To me, in my mind, it was clear to keep track of. The reason that I don't see it getting more streamlined going forward is because they're going to have to introduce other races. Because World of Warcraft is a big, expensive...
But they kind of have been introduced. They did a
well, as the viewpoint characters, though. They're going to introduce elves. Elves, that's a viewpoint character we're going to follow. They're dwarves. They're going to... like I said, the Horde. Sure. They're going to have other bad guys from other races that join the bad guy, or, the Horde.
But I mean, in any sequel you have that, but it's not going to overwhelm... this was a first movie, right?
Yeah.
And it was there was a bunch, for the first movie... Generally, in a franchise, for the first movie, you try and keep it a little more streamlined because you're not just interested in the characters, you're introducing the world and the environment, right? Yeah. So the world and the environment and the conflict have been introduced in the first one.
Sure.
So you want to keep it, generally, as few, not as few, but you want to keep the storylines more streamlined to kind of go with that because everything is new, right? For the vast majority of your audience. Sure. You have to assume that a lot of people that are watching
maybe that's
this movie,
I think what you're highlighting right there is why critics maybe didn't like it, is that they couldn't. To me, it was simple enough,
and it was. I don't think it was overly complicated. I just think it would have. I just felt, and my point was, I think some character development suffered because you had so much.
Absolutely.
Specifically in the movie, Lothor's son is killed about halfway through the movie. I didn't really care though because there were 2 scenes with his son, and there was just no connection between the 2 characters where. I mean, it was sort of emotional, sure. I think the actor who played Lothor did a good job playing that up.
He looks like he might be Leonardo DiCaprio a little bit.
A little, something of Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hardy.
He's got the watery eyes all the time.
No, he reminded me of Jax from Sons of Anarchy.
From Jack and Jack?
Oh, interesting. I can see that.
He plays the guy from Pacific Rim.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, Charlie Hanuman? Mm-hmm. No, so right, just to finish my point, I just feel like characters like that, I'm gonna guess that there were scenes that were filmed more with the father and the son that were cut out for a time to encompass all these other stories, and whatnot. So I just think that sort of suffered a little bit, where you could have just a few less characters to give them a little more character.
40 minutes longer.
For sure. Wow.
40 minutes of footage.
Wow. Okay. Well, I bet.
Answers your own question.
I bet somebody like me would really like that long, because I don't mind long movies at all. I mean, the other day I watched.
Oh, you don't like? So you're okay with long movies?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
So are you gonna go see Batman versus Superman?
I want
the
to.
deluxe cut.
I'm actually probably going to give it a shot.
Oh no, I'm not seeing it.
No, I mean I watched the 3 hour 20-minute Malcolm X movie. Christian and I also watched the 7 hour version of the Godfather epic.
Yeah, so, which was awesome, by the way.
Movie length is not
all right, so we're actually getting pretty close to the end. So let's wrap up right now.
Sure.
So closing thoughts on World of Warcraft.
Actually, the movie's just called Warcraft.
Oh, it's just called
Warcraft.
Warcraft. Perfect. Awesome.
It's called Movie of Warcraft.
Because it's based off. Because World of Warcraft, just to kind of specify for our audience and ourselves, World of Warcraft is a single game within the franchise. Mm-hmm. The franchise itself is called the Warcraft franchise.
Okay.
So the first 3 games were actually real-time strategies in your kind of like an Age of Empires, Star Wars Empire War, RTS.
That's
type
cool.
of game.
That's cool. And
then the 4th one, they revamped it and they made it an MMORPG.
And
it was the first really big MMORPG, and I think everybody in some way, shape, or form, if you're a parent or you're a kid or anything, you've heard of Warcraft in some way, shape, or form, either to be the bane of your existence because it drains everything from your child.
Or you made fun of those people.
Or
some of them have gone into. I think in some places people have had to be hospitalized because they don't know how to stop playing.
Yeah,
that's more like in South Korea. There's been a couple of cases, but that was more with StarCraft.
Okay.
StarCraft.
Yeah. I'm sure though. There are cases.
So if Warcraft started out as a real-time strategy, that's what StarCraft is. Is there going to be a World of StarCraft soon? And then a StarCraft film?
Stay tuned, my friends.
Actually, I have to ask about that. There'd be a StarCraft film.
That would be bizarre because I know even less about StarCraft.
Yeah, StarCraft is way over our heads. But anyway, so we got 2 minutes left. Let's wrap up real quick. So I think we're all agreed. World of Warcraft was really cool, really interesting. Looking forward to the sequel. I do think that they're not going to be streamlining it. They're going to introduce a little bit more. And it'll probably be bigger somehow, which, might hurt it. We'll see. But overall, really good. I enjoyed it. The ending, very surprising. They killed off a lot of people in interesting ways that you don't see coming. To me, that was the best part of the movie, was the surprise deaths at the end. Ravi?
Yeah, it was awesome. It scared me that I liked it.
It scares you?
I'm capable of liking a movie.
Ooh. You like movies.
Ooh.
But like potentially a franchise starter, like a money-making machine.
Well, so the last time I liked a franchise, I got burned by the publisher. Thanks, Ubisoft.
Assassin's Creed.
Just
to bring it all back. So actually, I just pulled up this interesting article on Cinema Blend titled "Why Jackie Chan Claims Warcraft's Success in China Will Scare Americans."
Yeah, of course it should.
And the quote is, "Warcraft made 600 million RMB, or $91 million, in 2 days. This has scared the Americans. If we can make a film that earns $10 billion or $1.5 billion US dollars, then people from all over the world who study film will learn Chinese instead of us learning English."
Yeah, of course, absolutely. The global dynamics with movies we'd all agree, are sort of like a microcosm for what's going on in a global economic level in all kinds of industries.
Sure.
So it's very interesting that the movie's doing so well in China, and that Forbes magazine and all those business journals and stuff are going to be looking at this very closely. Very curious to see what happens with the future of movie making. Maybe it's just better to literally just market your stuff overseas. Why even bother here? There's only 300 million people here, and then there's billions and billions of people out there who can give you more money.
Tech companies already started.
Well, also, and if you look at some franchise, like Transformers, had special scenes just for Chinese theaters. They had specific Chinese stars.
Marvel films, certain Marvel films did the same thing.
Wolverine 2, the second Wolverine takes place mostly in China.
Yep.
So some studios already are looking to market more towards, overseas markets. So
let's just take this one step further. How do we make our live stream
Chinese friendly?
More Chinese friendly?
We have to learn Mandarin.
I don't know any Chinese. I want to have. Do I have time for one more final thought?
You'll be the final thought.
Speaking of Wolverine, the alleged title for the last Wolverine outing is Weapon X.
Oh boy,
good.
And good.
Weapon X. It's an integral part of the Wolverine saga. I don't even read the comics.
It's been done in every single X-Men and Wolverine movie.
Sure.
I'm
so
tired.
They're closing the loop, maybe.
Well, hopefully. I hope it's just not another like.
I mean, it's the last one.
Wait,
the pain will be over soon.
Wait, I saw a picture of like Logan looking old, pushing.
Well, the rumor is
Stewart.
it would be Old Man Logan.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I mean, more spoiler alerts for X-Men Apocalypse if you haven't seen it. But the after credits scene alludes to Sinister X taking the Weapon X formula and stuff. So people assume Mr. Sinister will be involved somehow in the third Wolverine movie.
Cool.
So maybe that's it, but I don't know.
Cool.
That's my final thought.
All right. Nice. Excellent. We're out. That is. Did you stop it already?
No.
Oh, that is our. I thought you were like, we're done.
Yeah,
And
I'm
I
done.
already clicked.
Done.
So that is our LuZoCast. Thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed it, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and definitely feel free to leave us comments.
Follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well, and Instagram.
Perfect.
All LuZo Productions.
And give us recipe ideas.
Yeah, if you give us a great recipe idea, we will not cook it.
Well, we won't cook it because we don't know how to cook.
Wait,
so-
no, I actually
We'll
genuinely want recipe ideas.
Why?
I want to try new foods.
Okay. Well,
So-
send Ravi your recipes.
Just
and we'll film it.
no one here eats beef, so no beef.
No beef recipes, thank you.
No beef. Thanks.
Bye.
Good day.
Bye.
How do you stop this thing?
I think you press.
Just flip the table, ready? Come on, flip it.
All right, here we go.